Former federal prisoner who served time at 11 institutions of various security levels in 5 different states, and he now advises people who are about to go to prison. He is a former federal prisoner who served time at 11 institutions of various security levels in 5 different states.
Say goodbye to the high life, because Diddy's world now revolves around 4 cold, unforgiving walls every single day. Jail is terrible for anybody, but for someone who's used to having people wait on them hand and foot, never stands in line, always gets front row, the best table, and gets to have the exact opposite, what a life-changing moment. Life at MDC is a far cry from red carpets and private jets. This place isn't nicknamed Hell on Earth for nothing. Known for its brutal conditions, cramped cells, and unforgiving atmosphere, MDC has broken even the toughest spirits. But here's where it gets intriguing. While ex-inmates would likely laugh at the idea of anyone getting special treatment, whispers are starting to spread that Diddy's time in lockup might not be as unbearable as you'd think. And just when you thought it couldn't get more jaw-dropping, an ex-prison guard has come forward with claims that'll make you do a double take. You have your bed with a 1 and 2-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3T by 5T to move around, meaning you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place. So what's really going on behind those bars? Is there more to this story than meets the eye? Buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the rumors, and if there's any truth to them, things are about to take a shocking turn. The music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions. Sean Combs, better known as P. Diddy or now inmate 37452D54, is living a nightmare at New York's Metropolitan Detention Center, or MDC, in Brooklyn, a facility notoriously dubbed Hell on Earth. Here, luxury is a distant memory. Instead, he's dealing with brutality, illegal substances, fueled chaos, life-threatening tension, and the harsh reality of shared showers. Not the kind of parties Diddy wanted. For someone who once lived in luxury, hosting exclusive white parties filled with celebrities, models, and unimaginable decadence, his fall from grace couldn't be starker. In case you missed it, the fall from grace for Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, began back in September 2024 when his world came crashing down. He was slapped with a series of serious charges, including racketeering and running what prosecutors called a criminal enterprise linked to numerous offenses against women. For a man who once ruled a billion-dollar empire built on music, fashion, vodka, and more, this marked the ultimate downfall. In his prime, Diddy was the definition of opulence. He rose to fame in the 90s, becoming a cultural icon and racking up a fortune that most could only dream of. His parties were legendary, lavish affairs where the rich and famous gathered to indulge in every excess imaginable. But now, he's living a nightmare far from the red carpet. Word on the street is he's being kept in isolation for his own safety, but that's far from a smooth ride. He's completely cut off from the outside world, with only limited contact through brief moments with his legal team or family. Imagine being locked in a box, left alone with nothing but your thoughts, fear, anger, regret, who knows what else is running through his mind. In fact, his attorney has made it clear that MDC is much worse than just missing a few luxuries. This facility is notorious for its inhumane conditions. Inmates have long complained about moldy showers, freezing cold cells in the winter, and unbearable heat in the summer. It's like being stuck in a never-ending nightmare. Diddy may have been a superstar on the outside, but inside those walls, none of that matters. He's just another inmate trying to survive in an environment where even the smallest things, like fighting for a spot in line or a seat at mealtime, can spark savagery. Former prisoners have shared their stories of living in constant fear, never knowing when the next fight or brutal brawl might break out. And for someone like Diddy, a high-profile target, the danger is even greater. Reliable sources confirm he's being held in the special housing unit, which means a 24-hour lockdown. Every move he makes is controlled and heavily monitored. No one leaves their cell without being strapped up, leg irons, handcuffs, belly chains, and at least 2 or 3 guards. And if that wasn't enough, reports of corruption and misconduct from the guards are rampant. Word has it that some guards turn a blind eye to aggressive fights, smuggle and contraband, and even instigate conflicts between inmates. In this place, survival isn't just about keeping your head down, it's about making alliances and playing the game. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to was dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy. The public reaction to all of this has been divided. While many people thought Diddy would finally face some form of justice, others are genuinely concerned for his safety behind bars. Some argue that this is karma catching up to him, while others remind us that no matter what he's been accused of, Diddy is still facing some serious real-life dangers. According to former prisoners, Diddy's daily life inside the special housing unit is a far cry from the lavish lifestyle. He once enjoyed his wake-up call at 6 a.m. sharp, and it's unlikely he's getting much rest before then. The SHU is eerily quiet at night, but every now and then, a scream will break the silence, pulling Diddy from his restless sleep. It's hard to imagine how anyone could sleep comfortably on a 1.5-inch mattress without a pillow. This is a far cry from his former $40 million mansion, where he could wake up to soft sheets and expansive rooms. In that house, one of his many luxurious estates, he enjoyed perks like a theater, a spa, a beauty salon, and even a pool connected to an underground water tunnel. But now, in his cell, Diddy faces a world of stark contrast. His cell likely has no natural light, with only a harsh strip light above him. The bed, bolted to the floor, is made of iron, offering no comfort. Next to it is a tiny all-in-one ensuite with a sink and toilet, and that's about it. He spends 23 hours of his day here alone, with nothing but 4 concrete walls and the occasional visit from a cockroach, which he might even have named by now. Isolated in this harsh environment can lead to strange coping mechanisms, and naming a bug might be one way to stay sane when there's little else to connect with. Diddy's family is allowed to see him, and his lawyer visits regularly, but for the most part, he's confined to this tiny, uncomfortable space. The routine is bleak, but it's necessary for survival. Each morning, Diddy is expected to make his bed, mop the floor, and keep the toilet and sink clean. These small chores, while humiliating for someone who once had an army of household staff, at least provide some structure and a sense of purpose in an otherwise monotonous existence. Without these duties, it's easy to imagine how the hours could stretch on endlessly, driving him to madness. Breakfast arrives through a small hole in the door. There's no luxury to be had here, forget caviar and gourmet meals. Instead, he gets powdered scrambled eggs, cheap white bread, milk, and sweet juice. This is one of 3 meals a day, each adding up to around 1,800 calories, which is the minimum requirement by law. However, one major downside is that the food rarely arrives hot. Diddy, who once dined at the finest restaurants where he could spend thousands on a single meal, now eats cold, unappetizing food. Even his former indulgence in fine dining has turned into a stark reality of jailhouse cuisine, mystery meat and cold hot dogs made from muscle and sinew. These meals are inexpensive, typically costing just $3 or $4 each, and they're often far from appealing. There have even been reports of maggots in the food, a nightmare for any inmate, especially someone who's used to eating at the world's most exclusive spots. But Diddy does have some advantages, one of them being his money. Despite the grim surroundings, he has access to the prison commissary, where he can purchase a variety of items, candy, coffee, tea, and even snacks to supplement his meager meals. He can also buy personal items like clothing and a radio, helping to ease the harsh isolation a little bit. However, this financial freedom is limited, and it might be hard to imagine for a man who was once known for wearing a $500,000 diamond-studded gold chain. He's now confined to a budget of $160 every 2 weeks. That might sound like a lot to most people, but for someone who is used to spending millions without a second thought, it's almost nothing. With this small amount, Diddy will likely have to make tough choices. When it comes to what he buys from the commissary, he might indulge in candy, snacks, or coffee, but that's a far cry from the fine dining he's used to. In the quiet of his cell, Diddy may find solace in reading, but access to books is limited. The SHU doesn't offer the same luxuries of a full library, and even when books are available, they're mostly restricted to what's offered in the jail's TrueLinks electronic law library, a system that provides legal resources for inmates. However, a recent inmate shared his dismal perspective on the resources at the MDC, saying, "Forget about your constitutional rights, human rights here are a problem." The sense of isolation and the lack of resources must be weighing on Diddy, someone who's used to everything being at his fingertips. When it comes to personal hygiene, Diddy gets a shower 3 times a week. Inmates have described the showers in the MDC as disgusting, often filled with mold. Diddy, who has likely experienced the finest spas, is now stuck in a situation where the conditions are far from ideal. The smell of a poorly ventilated room, the scent of unflushed fecal matter, and the general lack of cleanliness are probably very new to him. Plumbing problems have also been a major issue in the facility. In 1 month alone, 800 work orders were placed for repairs, including fixing broken pipes. It's a harsh reminder that even basic comforts are not guaranteed in the SHU. Now, imagine what it would be like if Diddy were to be placed in the general population of the MDC. This facility has earned a reputation as hell on earth since its opening in 1994. In recent years, it's been notorious for brutality, with reports suggesting that inmates receive inadequate supervision and medical care. A former prisoner revealed that stabbings are frequent, with people getting stabbed at least a couple of times a week. These aren't just random attacks, inmates are often armed with homemade knives that can be 6 to 9 inches long, making the environment even more dangerous. In one tragic incident, an inmate was stabbed multiple times, only to be given a 25-day lockdown as punishment instead of receiving immediate medical care. Another inmate was fatally stabbed, a grim reminder of how savage the MDC can be. The situation is made worse by corruption within the system. 6 correctional officers have been fired in the last 5 years for bringing contraband into the prison, including phones, illegal substances, razors, and scalpels. According to some inmates, some correction officers are even gang members themselves, making the environment even more unpredictable. The level of brutality is so severe that judges have been reluctant to send prisoners to the MDC. However, due to the closure of the Metropolitan Correctional Center, which housed high-profile prisoners like Jeffrey Epstein, the MDC remains one of the only options for housing individuals like Diddy. If anything were to happen to him, the fallout would be significant, and heads would certainly roll. So, is Diddy completely safe in his current situation? It's hard to say for certain. Recently, it was reported that Diddy might have been moved from complete isolation into a dorm with another high-profile prisoner, former crypto king Sam Bankman-Fried. It is also known that Diddy's lawyers have called the conditions at the MDC horrific. They've even attempted to get Diddy released on bail with a $50 million bond, but the judge denied the request, meaning Diddy is staying put for now. If Diddy is, in fact, in a dorm, life will be even more difficult. He'll face 24-hour paranoia, sleeping with one eye open, constantly on guard. It's a dorm meant for those requiring protective custody, but that doesn't mean it's free from danger. He might be living with inmates who, like him, are in for serious offenses, including sex-related crimes. Considering Diddy's immense wealth, it's likely he'll have to pay someone significant money to ensure his safety. Despite his wealth, he's still very much at risk in a dangerous environment like the one he's in. Aside from all these harsh conditions in prison, there's some fresh news about Diddy and another inmate causing a stir. It turns out that Diddy and Luigi Mangione are both being held at Brooklyn's MDC, and their time behind bars is turning into quite the drama. Diddy has reportedly been struggling with a lot of negativity from other inmates. According to sources from the Daily Mail, he's upset about the hate he's been receiving inside the lockup, feeling like he's facing a lot of hostility from his fellow prisoners. But on the flip side, Luigi Mangione seems to be getting quite the opposite treatment. Luigi, who's facing serious charges including the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, has quickly earned the affection and respect of the other inmates. After being transferred to the MDC from a facility in Pennsylvania, he ended up sharing the same space as Diddy. While Diddy's having a hard time dealing with the negative attention, Luigi finds himself surrounded by a supportive crowd. What's even more interesting is the reason behind Luigi's popularity. Many of the inmates at the detention center have apparently found common ground with him, especially over shared struggles such as losing loved ones due to inadequate health care. These connections have reportedly made Luigi quite popular, and he's been able to get by with much more ease than Diddy, who's used to a very different kind of lifestyle. But as with any rumor, there's always a twist. Luigi's lawyers have denied any claims that Diddy is upset with him or the situation. They've made it clear that there's no tension between the two and that the whole story might be getting blown out of proportion. However, the dynamics between the two prisoners have certainly caught the attention of many. According to a report by the Mirror US, Diddy, who has entered a not guilty plea and continues to deny any wrongdoing in the charges against him, has not been in communication with Luigi Mangione during their time at the MDC. In fact, the two have reportedly made no effort to connect or engage with one another, as they have zero in common and their paths have not crossed inside the facility. Given the difference in their backgrounds, circumstances, and the charges they face, it's not surprising that the two aren't spending any time together. Despite their lack of interaction, there's an interesting connection between their legal teams that might make the story more complex than it appears. Both Diddy and Luigi are represented by lawyers who share a familial bond. Diddy's case is being handled by Mark Agnifilo, a prominent defense attorney known for his work on high-profile cases. But what adds a twist to this situation is that Luigi's defense is being managed by none other than Mark's wife, Karen Friedman Agnifilo. This overlap in the legal teams of these two high-profile prisoners is a curious one. Although Diddy and Luigi are not directly involved in each other's cases or personal lives, the fact that their respective legal battles are being handled by a husband and wife team shows just how interconnected the world of criminal defense can be, especially when dealing with such complex and high-stakes cases. Karen, who is also an experienced attorney in her own right, works alongside her husband Mark in defending clients who often face serious charges. While they might be working on different cases, their professional paths seem to have intertwined in this particular situation, given that both clients are now in the same prison and are facing public scrutiny for their actions. As of now, Diddy is still waiting for his trial, which is set for this spring. His defense attorneys are working hard to gather every piece of evidence that might prove his innocence. In fact, Diddy's legal team is arguing that some key videos in the case actually help support their client's side of the story, suggesting that he is not guilty of the accusations against him. According to legal documents obtained by Page 6, Diddy's lawyers believe that the videos show private, consensual, intimate activity between adults who were in a long-term relationship. The videos reportedly feature Diddy and his longtime girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, who is often referred to as Victim 1 in the case. Diddy's attorneys assert that these videos prove that Cassie not only consented to the activities but also genuinely enjoyed them, countering any claims of wrongdoing. One of the key issues in the case is whether Diddy himself held on to the footage. There's been a lot of debate about whether he kept these videos for personal use, and Diddy's defense is trying to clear up this misconception. His legal team argues that the 9 videos in question do not even exist on Diddy's devices. They claim that none of the videos were seized from his homes during the federal raid in early 2024. Instead, Diddy's lawyers state that Cassie Ventura kept the videos on her own personal device for years. What's more, they claim that she produced the footage herself to the authorities. Diddy's team also emphasized that Cassie was not only a willing participant but appeared to be evidently happy, dominant, and completely in control in the videos. This, they argue, further supports the idea that there was no coercion or manipulation involved in their relationship. According to Diddy's lawyers, there's no evidence of any mistreatment, threats, or coercion in the footage, which counters the accusations of misconduct. But regardless of what, there's no denying that Diddy did some unshakable things, and if Cassie was indeed enjoying these, then it's only because Diddy would likely kill her on the spot if she didn't participate willingly. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Diddy is doing well in prison, or do you think life there is driving him mad? Comment down below, and while we wait for more updates, make sure to subscribe and like for more updates on this case.